Socrates once said, "Know thyself." This is coming from the same man who believed that to be wise is to admit that you know nothing, yet he said that you should strive to understand more about who you are. Know thyself, a command so simple yet so powerful in that it's kind of the key to life. It's how you add meaning to your life, it's how you find your purpose. But even though this idea, this concept has been around since the time of Socrates, thousands of years later, most people still don't know who they are. Like if I ask you, who are you? Your immediate response may be, well, my name is Jeff. But think about what you're saying. My name is. Names are something that we have ownership of. It's yours. You are not your name in the same way that you are not your body. There is more to the self. One of the best answers I've seen to this question actually comes from Jay-Z. And I know he's kind of in a lot of controversies with the whole day situation right now, but this was years ago, and it was still a great answer when he said it to Nardwar.
Who are you?
Who am I? I'm a young man from RC Projects who really made the thing that they say the American dream come true, because I'm not supposed to be here speaking to you. You know, there's a lot of people that come from where I come. There's a lot of skilled people who come from where I come who are not here right now. You know?
You are Jay-Z.
Oh, I thought you meant like, who am I? I thought it was a deeper question. My name is Jay-Z, yes.
Like I said, I love this answer because you can tell that he pulls it from a place of deeper meaning, but even then his answer consists of some pretty basic things. Where he's from, and what he's accomplished. Stated with a bit of humility, of course. But that's not all we are either. I mean, if we attached our sense of self purely to what we've achieved, so many people would feel like they're, well, nothing really. And either way, it's not like we're really concerned about who other people are. Socrates didn't say, know others, he said, know thyself. So maybe we should be flipping that question and asking ourselves, who am I? But it's not as simple as asking the question. It's difficult to answer because there are so many factors to who we are, and because if you really think about it, for the majority of our lives, we've never really had the chance to actually be ourselves. Dr. Donald Winnicott was an English pediatrician and psychoanalyst who specialized in child development. He believed part of why we struggle to know ourselves is because we've been forced to repress who we are since before we could form coherent thoughts. Dr. Winnicott hypothesized that in their purest form, infants and small children are amoral and asocial, meaning they don't follow societal norms or expectations. They don't care about what's considered socially acceptable or even kind. They want to cry, they want to be loud, they want to bite and scratch when they're angry. But parents often can't handle that. They have traumas and stressors in their lives, and adding a fussy baby to the mix can often make it worse. And children understand this, so from an early age, they realize that it's not in their best interest to be their true selves. So they repress themselves for the sake of the parent and themselves. And even as children get older and they start to enter the preschool stage, they're punished if they act aggressive or demanding or selfish. I'm not saying that kids should be allowed to act however the hell they want to, but Dr. Winnicott was just trying to emphasize that even as young children, we're forced to conform, to not be ourselves. Later in life, this translates into adulthood. People tend to hide the parts of themselves they deem as negative or as unacceptable by society. This mirrors Carl Jung's idea of the shadow and the repression of the darker side of ourselves. We suppress the parts we don't like or think others won't like so that we can be accepted. Unfortunately, even as adults, this only leads to confusion about who we are because we're never allowed to be our whole selves. We're always putting on our best faces and showing only the good, kind of like a highlight reel of ourselves. Naturally, it stands to reason that with all this suppression of major parts of ourselves, we end up losing sight of who the self is, of who we are. But still, Socrates said, know thyself, and he's considered the father of Western philosophy, so you can bet your ass that philosophers since him have figured out ways that you can know yourself better. Let's talk about a few of them. Knowing yourself better often begins with rejecting what you already know, with rejecting what society says you should think and do and value. This idea is nothing new. Carl Jung talked about it a lot in relation to shadow work and embracing your whole self. But so did Nietzsche. He believed you need to get rid of society's moralities in order to create your own and live authentically. Henry David Thoreau expressed similar ideas. So did Ralph Waldo Emerson. So many philosophers have agreed that you need to reject societal norms in order to truly be yourself, to truly know yourself. And it's not often that this many people agree on a particular subject, so that alone should tell you that it holds some truth. Society will constantly tell you that you should want to be rich and famous, that you should want to party all the time, that you should embrace hustle culture. But these things are all subjective. When it comes to things like values and definitions of success and how you want to spend your time, these are all things that you need to figure out what they mean for you. You need to learn to be unapologetically yourself. After all, Ralph Waldo Emerson said, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Jean-Paul Sartre once said, man first exists, encounters himself, surges up in the world, and defines himself afterwards. What this means is that there's no preset or predetermined notion of the self. We're not born with an inner template that defines who we are or who we're going to be. we make ourselves. Part of why people struggle to know themselves isn't always because they really don't know who they are, but because they deny parts of who they are. They don't want to admit that they have negative traits or that they could be doing better in life. For example, if someone spends all of their free time just laying in bed scrolling on their phone, it's easier to say, I don't know who I am, than to say, I'm kind of a lazy person. Which isn't their whole identity, but it's definitely part of who they are. But rest assured that there is always time to make changes. You can always become better. You can always change your identity or characteristics to make them what you want them to be. Another Jean-Paul Sartre quote, man is nothing else but what he makes of himself. You have to take responsibility for who you are or who you're going to become. You have ultimate control of yourself. Of course, your environment and life experiences play a role in it too, but ultimately it comes down to choices. This is how two people who live in the same household can grow up to have extremely different lives. For example, if you have two siblings who grow up in a house where their parents do drugs, one sibling may grow up and follow suit because that's what they know, that's what they think is normal. The other sibling may decide they never want to be like that, or that they want to help people in that situation, so they become a substance abuse counselor or something like that. This is oversimplified, but regardless of the situation, the future of the two siblings came down to individual choices. They determine their outcomes just like you determine who you are. We all have an inner voice. Well, almost all of us. I read somewhere that some people don't, which is wild. But we all have desires to do things, to be things that we didn't always pursue because society or our teachers or even our parents told us that it was too unrealistic or that we couldn't make any money doing it, so there was no point in actually going after it. Well, forget all that. I'm of the opinion that we should follow our inner voice and learn to trust our intuition. Trusting yourself is a key component to understanding yourself. It's what allows you to follow your own path. It's what leads to authenticity. And as we've learned, inauthenticity is what put us in this predicament of not knowing who we are in the first place. In his 2005 commencement speech at Stanford, Steve Jobs said, "Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become." This all ties back in with rejecting societal norms because by doing that, you're automatically forced to trust yourself. Don't let society tell you what you should or shouldn't do. Trust yourself and do what your inner voice already knows you want to do. One thing that's important to remember in all of this is that no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you want to listen to Socrates, you can never fully know yourself. Who we are is an ever-changing concept. We'll never fully know ourselves at any given time because there is no whole or final version of who we are. Ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, always becoming, never being. And he said this before Socrates was even born. I talk about this idea in greater detail in my video on self-awareness, but essentially what it means is that we, like everything else in the universe, are constantly evolving, constantly changing, constantly growing. As such, there is no way to achieve a completeness of knowledge of who we are because we ourselves are never complete. But this is a good thing because it does two things. First of all, it allows us to be compassionate with ourselves in our journey of self-discovery. Knowing who you are and understanding more about yourself is a long process, and at times you may feel like you're not making any progress or gaining any new insights into who you are. But that's okay, because you will never have full knowledge, so you don't need to beat yourself up over it. And secondly, accepting the ever-changing self gives you the realization that learning about yourself has no end. You will spend your whole life trying to understand who you are. That's the point. At various stages in your life, you will be like an entirely new person, and you will have to start learning about that person all over again. So if you're just getting started trying to figure out who you are, take it slow. You have time. In fact, you literally have your entire life ahead of you to get to know you. But with that, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Consider watching this video next, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.